Yo, 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 what's happening, people? Now, this is the last podcast of the year, episode 12. Delighted to be joined once again by my dad, Mr. Laurie from AFTV. Year end awards, man. This is going to be an awards special. Year end awards. We're going to review everything over the last year. We're going to give our opinion. You know, you've seen the Ring magazine, you've seen various other publications. This is going to be our awards show. We're going to do it our way. We're going to give you our opinion on what we believe to be the fighter of the year, KO of the year, and so on. So, just before we get into it, man, just your thoughts on the year as a whole.
Yeah, another great year for boxing. Just want to start off by saying, wishing everybody out there a happy new year. I hope 2021 doesn't prove as traumatic as 2020 did. And I hope everyone out there is healthy, well, and COVID-free. I myself am not feeling great. You may have heard some of the AFTV guys went down with COVID. I've not been feeling too great. I've had a COVID test. I'm waiting on the results. Who knows how that's going to go? But yeah, peace and happiness and good health to everyone. And yeah, man. But right, to get into the boxing. Yeah, man, it's been another good year for boxing. Could have been better.
Could have been worse.
It could have been worse. Obviously, COVID had a dramatic effect on the amount of fights, with fans not being able to get into the stadiums by and large. Some of the fights that we thought would take place didn't, because the promoters and the boxers concerned didn't want to fight with no fans there, which is perfectly understandable. But shout out to all the promoters out there, man, that managed to put shows on. And let's be honest, they would have suffered some financial losses. So yeah, shout out to all the promoters out there for doing their best to put shows on. And to all the fighters out there, I mean, I know a couple of professional fighters, I know them well, and I know how difficult it's been with the possibility of no fights, having to keep themselves motivated, having to train. Some of them not having any gyms to train in, you know what I mean? It's been a very difficult time. So, yeah, man, my shout goes out to the boxing fraternity.
That's it, man. Yeah, no doubt. And obviously, we're broadcasting this live. So anybody that joins the chat, we're just going to continue talking as normal. But if anyone joins the chat, or that leaves a comment or whatever for us to answer, we'll happily do so. But let's get straight into it, man. We're going to speak about the awards. Then we're going to speak about Garcia, Campbell. Then we'll talk about any fights we want to see for 2021. So we'll go through that. Hopefully we can get that within the hour. So let's get started, man. Let's talk about the fighter of the year. Now, this is the biggest award. This is the award. We touched on it briefly last week. So for those that tuned in, I'm sure they'll gauge your opinion as to who you think was the fighter of the year. But I'm just going to run through some of the nominees. Obviously, the Ring magazine had a co-fighter of the year for the, I think it's the 5th time they've ever done that. And that was with Teofimo Lopez and Tyson Fury. And
a question on that. Why would you need to have a co-fighter of the year? Surely whoever's producing these awards can come to a definitive decision as to who the fighter of the year was. I find that very strange. But why not? Why can't you split them? I mean, like, come on, bro. I mean, it's not that hard, is it? You just adjudge one fighter to have done better than the other one. You must be able to come up with a criteria. To have a joint fighter of the year is just a total cop-out. But anyway, carry on, my friend.
All right. So yeah, we got that. So there's those two. I guess the other nominees we've got are Jamel Charlo, who've looked very good against Jason Rosario, unified 3 of the 4 belts at light middleweight. You've got Roman Gonzalez, bounced back in fantastic fashion to defeat Kal Yafai, undefeated fighter from Knee Shores, took him out ruthlessly. And then you've got Jamal Charlo, maybe Errol Spence in there as well. Who would you say your fighter of the year was for 2020?
Yeah, I mean, first up, there's been some tremendous fights and fighters in 2020. But to me, I think it's clear there's one person that rose above the parapet, and that's Teofimo Lopez. Young guy, brash, you know what I mean, confident, good fighter. But let's be honest, man, he was up against many people's pound-for-pound champion, and most people had written him off, including myself. I'm not going to try and be wise after the event. I knew he would test Lomachenko, but I thought Lomachenko would have too much experience, too much class. And in the end, I was proved totally wrong, because he won. And despite the stuff that Lomachenko went on with after, which was ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
I thought he won that fight fairly comfortably. I thought he won it by at least 2 or 3 rounds, and a new star is born. And you know what I mean? That's it right there, isn't it? A new star was born. Give him the fighter of the year. What? Listen, no disrespect to Tyson Fury. He had a great win, but a lot of those people who are eulogizing about that win now were saying that Tyson beat Deontay the first time. So if that is the case, what they're saying, then why should they have been so struck with awe that he won this fight? Yeah. Whereas with Teofimo, you know what I mean, went into that uncharted territory, took on a multi-weight champion, and he beat him convincingly in his in his first real big night. So yeah, man, for me, Teofimo Lopez all the way. Don't like the stuff he's carrying on with now. That he's acting a bit of a diva since then, I must say. But hey, I'm not going to hold that against him too much. He's young, like I said, he's brash, he's confident, New Yorker, talks a lot, but you can't knock what he did against Lomachenko. And like I said, I'm not trying to take anything away from Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury's performance was a very good performance. He did shock me in the way he won, but he wouldn't have been my fighter of the year. No chance. It's got to be Teofimo. Somebody tell me why there's a co-fighter of the year. I just don't get it. Real cop-out, man. Nonsense. But anyway.
Anyone in the chat that wants to, put their point forward as to why they feel there should be a co-fighter of the year, let us know. But yeah, I have to agree. My fighter of the year is Teofimo Lopez as well. And it's not just he won the fight. It's the way how he won it. He took it to Lomachenko. Didn't try and nick it. He busted him up, particularly in the last round. And I thought that he went out and got it. He was very confident before the fight. He was getting a lot of criticism from a lot of the Loma lovers out there and a lot of other boxing people saying, he's being a bit too brash, too cocky. He's going to get schooled. I saw all of that. Yeah. I saw a masterclass. I saw all this. And he went out there and he thought, no, I'm sticking to what I'm going to do. He boxed behind a great jab and he looked very good. He forced Loma on the back foot and he won the fight. So for me, considering the potential that was around Teofimo Lopez, going into it, like I've said many times, he was on the ESPN list for the number 1 as a top 25 fighter under 25. He was listed as number 1. So he had a lot of potential going in there. He called out Lomachenko, he went out there and he beat him. And I think considering what Loma was at the time, where he was, his stature, it's got to be Teofimo Lopez for me. And I'm not discrediting Tyson Fury either. I think he runs him a close second. That performance over Deontay Wilder was amazing. It was, everybody thought nobody thought Tyson Fury would do that to Wilder. Like they thought he might box again and win a decision. But he took the fight to him and he battered him. So it was probably the event of the year, I'd say. But I wouldn't call it the fighter of the year, in my opinion. Before we go on, we've got a few questions here. I'll let you answer this one, Laurie. It says, do you think Loma should get the rematch?
I would answer that by saying this. Does he really want the rematch? He doesn't, the body language and all that, the excuses he was making, the lack of class he showed after the fight, he doesn't really give me the impression that he truly wants that rematch. But listen, Lomachenko is a great fighter, 1 or 2 losses, but that loss is not going to stop him from being a great fighter. And if he wants the rematch and it can be made, then I haven't got a problem with it. I don't think he'll win, but he's well within his rights to pursue it. Although it's interesting on that there was no rematch clause for the fight in the first place, which makes me wonder why that wasn't in place. But hey.
Next question, next point we got here. Big up DS in the chat. What's going on, bro? He's put Lopez by far. Fury was probably the favorite going into the rematch. He surprised us by how he won, but it's a fight he was always likely to win. And then he's added on that by saying Teofimo was a massive underdog going into the fight with arguably the pound for pound number 1, and he showed Lomachenko what's what. Totally agree. Do you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely spot on. I've got no axe to grind, man. Tyson Fury is a very good fighter. But come on, man. Like I said, lots of people had Fury down winning that second fight. Most people I spoke to thought he was going to win. Now, you're right. The manner of the victory was sensational. Particularly as he'd said before the fight that he was going to go out there and put Wilder on the back foot and beat him, and he did exactly that, and he stopped him. Very impressive performance. But you cannot really compare that with the scale of the challenge that Teofimo faced. You know what I mean? Don't forget, Tyson Fury is a very experienced fighter now. Teofimo is relatively inexperienced. Although he was a world title shot he'd had before when he beat Comey in very impressive fashion. See, that shouldn't be discounted as well. But it's the way he went in, you know, he got under Lomachenko's skin before the fight. He said, listen, man, I'm going to come and I'm going to take it from you and I'm going to beat you up. And you know what I mean? And you could see that Lomachenko, he was put out of his game. You know what I mean? You could see that he was genuinely shook up when Lopez was saying that to him. You know what I mean? He couldn't believe how this guy was being so brash and being such an upstart and not putting respect on his name. So that I thought that this would raise Lomachenko's game to another level. I mean, because previously people had said to me, oh, we haven't even seen the best of Lomachenko. Remember that? You haven't even seen the best of him yet. No one's brought out, you know, I mean, there's more levels to his game yet. And I was probably fooled by that. Well, you was probably thinking, you know what, it could be true because he's been winning a lot of his fights so easily that you're thinking, yeah, you know what, it could be true. Maybe he's got another gear that we ain't seen yet. And yet the young man went into the lines then, man, and not just took the title off him, but beat him up. And okay, Lomachenko had a couple of rounds late 10-11, 9-10-11. Yeah. But in the 12th round, man, when Teofimo needed to stamp his authority and, you know, put the seal on the performance, he did so. And he nearly got Lomachenko out of there. So it was a fantastic performance, man. And like I said, I've been a little bit disappointed with some of the stuff that's coming out of Teofimo's mouth since the fight. I get the impression he's acting a bit of a diva, and I hope he doesn't spoil himself by doing all that stuff, man. I really don't. But he's a star, man. He made himself a star. So how can he be joint fighter of the year? Come on, man. It's obvious it's Teofimo. And like I said, no disrespect to Fury, but it is what it is.
Let's talk about a female fighter of the year now. Big up Kieran Rogers, man. He bought. Yeah, I know you want to get into that.
Really? Oh, man.
Big up Kieran Rogers, first of all, man. He bought a T-shirt. I hope you got that, bro. I'll send that across on Monday, I think it was, or Tuesday. So hopefully you've got that by now. But big up Kieran Rogers in the chat. Let's talk about the female fighter of the year now, because it was awarded to Katie Taylor. She's had a good year. You don't agree with that? I knew you didn't agree with that.
Absolutely not.
But I have to admit, I was surprised because I think Jessica McCaskill should have got the female fighter of the year. Well, she defeated Clarissa Shields was up, but I think Jessica McCaskill, she defeated Cecilia Breakers. That's probably the upset of the year.
Yeah,
and she became undisputed champion. You know, I thought she was a shoo-in for it. Like, Katie Taylor's had a good year. She defeated Delphine Pursoon in the rematch. She took that.
Did she? Come on, man. Let's keep it real. She didn't win that fight, bro.
Well,
the first fight, that was one of the most egregious robberies I've ever seen. Okay,
she took the rematch. She did take the rematch.
Yeah, I'm going to come to that. So 2019, fall 2019, she had that fight with Pursoon. She got beat from pillar to post in that fight. When she got the decision, honestly, I thought that was one of the worst decisions I've ever seen in my life. Even some of the hardcore Irish supporters of her, people like Carl Frampton and people like that, would say, nah, she lost. That's to tell you how bad a robbery it was. Now, to give Katie Taylor credit, she granted Delphine Pursoon a rematch this year. I didn't think she won that fight. The judges were very, very favorable towards her in that fight. Now, even if she did, right, she scraped through. She scraped through that fight.
Didn't Delphine Pursoon afterwards, she was a bit like, she didn't really seem that thing to me when she lost. She weren't really as angry as the first fight.
No.
Do you think that she thought that she lost, or?
I don't know, man. Maybe the occasion got to her. But guess what? You know what happened, don't you? As soon as she went back to Belgium and she said she watched the fight again, she was saying a completely different tune. She said, yeah, I won the fight. Listen, I like Katie Taylor. I'm not trying to, like, discredit her just for the sheer hell of it. You know what I mean? But we've got to be fair, man. You know what I mean? You got to, I know boxing's a subjective sport, right? and I know that people watch different things, and I know it's easy to be swayed by the whole aura of Katie Taylor. You know what I mean? She's an excellent fighter. She conducts herself excellently outside the ring. She's a real, yeah. But that being said, man, come on. The evidence was before you. I spoke to several people after that fight, and they said, you know what, it was a closer fight than the first one, but I still gave it to Delphine Pursoon. And that's what I thought. You know what I mean? So, okay, she won it. How the hell are you going to give her Fighter of the Year off the back of that? When you had, like you said, Jessica McCaskill, she ended the run of Cecilia Brækhus, the best run in women's boxing, prior to Jessica beating her. I think she was like 36-0.
She was fantastic. Yeah.
So how can she go and achieve something like that? And then you go and give it to Katie Taylor after a very disputed win against a girl that had beaten her the previous year and didn't get the decision. What the hell is going on? It's outrageous. Yeah. And then to make matters even worse, you've got Claressa Shields. I mean, people keep going on about Katie Taylor being the face of women's boxing, the best. No, Claressa Shields has won 2 gold medals to Katie Taylor's 1. She's won the first gold medal at 17, right? 17, you know. And then she came back at 21 and won another gold medal in London. That's 2 gold medals, right? She's unbeaten as a pro. She's a 3-time world champion. And now Claressa Shields is having to go to MMA because she's not getting the props that she deserves. Disgusting, man. And listen, there's nothing against Katie Taylor. I'm just saying the way this whole thing works with all the vested interests and the vested promotions and trying to construct a narrative to blind the gullible fans. I just find it's disgusting, man. It really is.
What about Terry Harper? I thought she had a great year. This time last year, she was probably in a fish and chip shop, weren't she? And then she had a massive breakthrough year this year. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, Terry Harper could be up there as well.
She had a disputed win over Natasha Jonas, didn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not, you can't look past Jessica McCaskill or Claressa Shields. And Katie Taylor is not the face of women's boxing. The face of women's boxing is Claressa Shields without any shadow of a doubt. I will argue that to my death with anybody. You know what I mean?
Do you think, because a lot of people, maybe Katie Taylor might conduct herself differently than Claressa Shields, where Claressa Shields is more brash, outspoken, whereas Katie Taylor, she's probably more media friendly over here at least. But I don't know, saying that, when Claressa Shields was over here, she charmed a lot of the Sky Sports team, and you know, she was. I love Claressa Shields, but do you think that it's because across boxing fans, it's Shields? It seems like Katie Taylor's like what this guy said here. He's put. I think Shields needs better marketing. Could that be it? Could it literally be down to that?
Maybe she does need better marketing. Maybe she's on a par with somebody like Terence Crawford, whereby her promoters, unfortunately, don't do a good enough job. Because you got to say, someone like Eddie Hearn with the old Sky corporation behind him, he manages to do a very good job in terms of the way he promotes his fighters, and they've done an excellent job with Katie Taylor. But like I said, that narrative that's been pushed that she's the face of women's boxing and she's the greatest woman boxer of all time is absolute nonsense. And people need to really understand that.
Here's a comment here from Kieran Rogers. He's put, I don't think she does herself any favors on social media personally. That's Claressa Shields.
Well, look, you can say that, but that shouldn't detract from her ability in the ring, should it? That's a subjective thing. I don't really have a problem with Claressa, the way she promotes herself. You know what I mean? She's very much into this girl power thing. She thinks that I will conduct myself the way the men do it. If you gravitate to the way the men are boastful and, you know what I mean, and brash and talk a lot, why shouldn't a woman do it? You know what I mean? So maybe it's got something to do with that. Maybe it's got something to do, dare I say it, with the color of her skin. So maybe some people are not comfortable with a black woman that's, you know, that brash and confident and out, you know what I mean, and outspoken. Some people may have a problem with it. I don't know. They will have to tell us that. But come on, man.
Yes, got to keep it moving anyway.
And I repeat, she is not the face of. I will argue that with anybody. Look at Claressa Shields' record. She's still unbeaten now. The girl's having to go to MMA because she's not getting the props or the money that her talents deserve. And it's as simple as that, bro. And like I said, Katie Taylor is a great fighter, great woman's fighter. I like watching her. You know what I mean? But come on, man, let's keep it real. Jessica McCaskill performance in beating Cecilia Breakers, ending her unbeaten record after all the. How could that not be? Come on, man. Come on. A joke.
Big up my guy Kirk, man. Kirk Raymond. He's using Nigel Raymond's. He's on his work account. So he's put the casual fan knows of Katie Taylor, not so much Shields. Again, that comes down to the promoting, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that, with respect to Nigel, that is not reason in itself for promoting Katie Taylor to be Fighter of the Year. Just because you're saying it's up to us or up to the media, right? Both social media and mainstream, to make sure that these things are corrected, so that people do know about Clarissa Shields.
But anyway, it should have went to McCaskill anyway.
It's up to the commentators to start telling the truth and stop pushing those narratives that they know. I heard that Anna Woolhouse the other day, and she's normally pretty good. And when she was talking about Katie Taylor, you think that there was no other women boxers around. I mean, where are these? Who's writing these people's scripts, man? And the thing is, right, and this is where I've got a real problem with it. I suspect that they know what they're doing. They're just pushing that narrative because Katie Taylor's a Sky fighter. That's all they're doing. They're pushing their own person there.
And yeah, Sky have other female fighters, don't they?
They're doing that at the detriment of the sport.
Yeah, but they have other female fighters, don't they?
Yeah, but what I'm saying, they're pushing a particular narrative to suit their views on Sky.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's all they're doing, because you cannot say that Katie Taylor is a better fighter than Clarissa Shields. No way. No way, man. It's just not possible. Olympic gold medalist at 17, Olympic gold medalist at 21, 3-time world champion, unbeaten. Come on. It's a joke. It really is. But anyway.
Let's keep it moving because we ain't strapped for time. So we've done the Fighter of the Year. We've done the Female Fighter of the Year. Big up everybody in the chat so far. If you're watching, click the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel. We went past that 700 mark last week, so big up all of you guys, and thank you all for staying in tune in the chat. Let's go on to Knockout of the Year, man, because this was a tight one. You had some, despite like there being limited amount of boxing this year, we had some fantastic knockouts, man. One of them being, let's go through the options that I've got here, and as I said, I'll go through them, and then you give me yours, and then I'll say what mine is. So we've obviously got Alexander Povetkin and Dillian Whyte. We've got that. Povetkin was losing the fight. You know, he was not dropped twice himself, came back in the next round with an unbelievable uppercut, knocked Dillian Whyte flat out. You've got Gervonta Davis against Leo Santa Cruz. You've got Cepeda against Baranchik. You've got Ryan Garcia against Fonseca. And then you've got Jamel Charlo against Jason Rosario. That body shot that like, I think it mashed up his ribs. But those are my candidates for Knockout of the Year. There are two that stand out in those that I've just seen floated about everywhere. What would you say is yours? Because this has been a tough choice for people to make. What's your Knockout of the Year and why?
For me, it's got to be Tank Davis versus Leo Santa Cruz, man. Because given the magnitude of that fight, given the fact that both of them are world champions, I have to say that Leo Santa Cruz was equipping himself very well, man. Some people had him up, and I could understand why they would have done. But with Gervonta, there's always that menace, man. He carries either hand he's dangerous with, and the way he maneuvered the way he maneuvered Leo Santa Cruz to the ropes and produced that uppercut, man. Wow, that was sensational. It was also a bit scary because I must admit, I watched that fight live, and Leo Santa Cruz was on the floor for so long. My initial feelings of euphoria were replaced by one of concern. I was really worried that there might be something seriously wrong with it. So yeah, that would be my KO of the year. Although, yeah, you're right in highlighting the Povetkin one, because again, the way he set that up, man, and again, he was a fighter that was coming from behind in that fight. And the way he set that up with the jab and then shifting his body over to the left and coming through the middle like that. It was the perfect punch. So yeah, those two are deserving of special mention, but got to go for
not Co knockout of the year, no?
No. No.
Yeah. Seems like everybody, people in.
What I would say to people as well, especially if you remember how you felt when you watched it live, because I can remember watching that Gervonta Davis. It was obviously in the early hours of the morning, and I jumped. I mean, don't get me wrong, with the Dillian knockout as well. I think I did jump out my chair then, but with the Leo San, I just did not see that coming at all, man, because he was boxing so well.
Yeah.
He seemed to be handling everything that Gervonta threw at him. Although Gervonta was always in the fight. He was always just touching him here and there to make me think that, yeah, you know what I mean, there's still a long way to go. But it was a kind of beautiful brutality, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Over, and then when you saw the slow-mo, the way he came underneath, and oh, man, it was a thing of beauty, but it was also very brutal as well. So, yeah, man, I've got to go with Gervonta for that.
It was chilling. It was chill. Like, I remember, because I really like Leo Santa Cruz. He seems like a very nice person outside the ring. Yeah. So, you know, he's boxing well. I like Gervonta Davis too. But when Leo was out like that, all of a sudden, I just forgot about boxing for a minute. And I was just like, no, I hope he's all right, man. Because the way how his body was limped under the ropes, and the way how he fell, I was just like, oh, and the fact that his dad was there, and his dad's obviously not been well at all. Yeah. All of that, like, I guess it's just a human in us, isn't it? Like, we forget for a minute, and we just, yeah, I hope he's all right. Whereas Dillian
differed from the Dillian one, because with Dillian, he was up after a few seconds, wasn't he? He was out cold, he was gone. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, but he did come round fairly quickly. Whereas seriously, Santa Cruz was on the floor there for minutes, lying prostrate. I remember watching it, and I was trying as hard as I can to see if I could see signs of him moving, and I could see nothing. And that's when, like I said, the euphoria of the knockout got replaced by feelings of concern. Because I was saying to myself, oh, I hope I haven't witnessed something that is really horrible, you know what I mean? So, unbelievably, Leo Santa Cruz is talking about a rematch. He's either very brave or very stupid, man, because, boy, I would not want to go in. I wouldn't want to see him go near that type of challenge again, man. I mean, that's the type of knockout.
That's the type of warrior he is. Yeah. Squared Circle here says he's picked Povetkin. Yeah, it was a close run show. And listen, there were other good knockouts as well, man. Like I said, Cepeda and Baranchik. Yeah. That was an unbelievable, like, just an ending to a fantastic fight. Ryan Garcia against Fonseca. He'll be in action this weekend, Ryan Garcia. But yeah, the two main ones for sure were definitely those two. So I guess it's like a take-you pick. But for me as well, I think I'll just have to edge Gervonta Davis over Povetkin's over White. But it's close. I wouldn't argue too much either way. Big up Kraft Constanza here. He's put, I love that we're serious boxing fans and had a proper discussion about female boxing. That's great progress for the sport. Hey, listen, man, for sure. Like, that's what we're about here, man. I don't know if you're new to the channel, but yeah, every Thursday, me and my dad, we chop this up. We talk about anything and everything, man. And I think it's good because I don't think female boxing is discussed enough. No. I think that it's very progressive in the sport right now. Good to see. And we'll talk about just about anything.
One thing I would say on that, and I do agree what Kraft has said there. Thanks for the comment. But I would add to that, if we are going to have serious boxing discussions, then let's be serious. Let's do it properly. So let's not just have Sky people, Matthew Macklin, Anna Woolhouse, Johnny Nelson, and people like that. Just talk about one particular person when they know full well that they're spreading falsehoods. You know what I mean? Because how can you have that conversation and say, talk about Katie Taylor like she's the only one out there, when you know these guys, they know they're boxing. So they know about Clarissa Shields. They know about how good she is. So why are you not mentioning her? Why are you not talking about her in the same breath? Because technically what you're doing is a disservice to women's boxing, because there are other great women's boxers out there. Why are you not talking about Jessica McCaskill's great win, ending the longest unbeaten record ever in women's boxing, with Cecilia Brækhus, who's a legend of the sport, and Jessica McCaskill gone and dethroned her? Why are you not talking about? Why are you not bigging that up? Why are you not talking about Clarissa Shields, an absolute phenom of women's boxing. Everything is just focused on Katie Taylor because she's British and she operates on the Sky Network. It's ridiculous, man.
I guess you could just say it's company protocol, isn't it? I mean, look, for example, the PBC. Like, they weren't including fighters. They weren't including fighters from other rival networks on their like champions list. So I guess that's kind of probably the reason why. Like, they're just, I don't like it. I don't agree with it, but I think that's what it is.
No, but if you think about what they're doing, they are diluting the sport. The way they're talking is like there's only one great women's boxer out there. And like I said, I'm not saying that Katie Taylor is not a great fighter. She is. But there are other greater fighters than her operating right now. Shine some of the light on these people. Because when you do that, then what you are doing then is that you're authenticating women's boxing. You're showing that, you know, there's a lot of talent out there, rather than holding on to one person and saying, oh, she's the be all and end all. Well, let's be honest, man. Katie Taylor is probably past her best now, and she's lost 2 out of those 3 fights. Sorry, 2 of her last 3 fights, in my opinion. And even if you say that she won that last fight, which I don't agree, she's straight past that girl, right? And that in itself is not worthy of her being proclaimed Women's Boxer of the Year. Utterly ridiculous.
Big up the Troll Network here. The Troll Network, I'm sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure I may have seen you on other podcasts before, a certain Patreon. Let me know if it is you, but I'm sure I've seen you comment on other posts before. But big up, thank you for the comment, and I hope you're enjoying the content so far. It looks like that you are. Big up Castle View Promotion Stafford. He's put great channel, good live with Ade and your dad too, knowledgeable, all of you. Hey, thank you, man. Much appreciated. Thank you very much for that. Let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving here. We got Craft here again in the comments. He's put, that's the biggest problem in boxing, is every man for himself. Sky have to push their agenda. PBC has to push their agenda. Frank Warren, Eddie Hearn, etc. I agree. Yeah. I agree. Totally agree. Let's move on anyway.
Point, but it's so annoying though, because like I said, especially women's boxing, when the pool isn't that deep, you know what I mean? And all you're doing is focusing all your energy's attention on one person, and you're doing it to the discredit of the sport, man. It's just poor, and it really annoys me, because there's some other women out there that, like I said, just as good, if not better, are proving it, and they're plying their trade, and you're not giving them any credit at all. All you're doing is talking about one person. You know what I mean? So come on, man. You know what I mean? Let's keep it real. Let's keep it 100. You know?
Big up my guy DS again here in the chat. He's put, love this channel. Keep up the great work, James. Hey, thanks a lot, bro. Much appreciated, man. DS knows his stuff as well. We talk about boxing a lot off camera. So, yeah, he knows his stuff, man. Big up, bro. Let's keep it moving here. Let's talk about the fight of the year. For me, this is not hard. This is not hard for me, the fight of the year. People will talk about Fury and Wilder, but for me, that's the event of the year. The fight of the year, no doubt. I'll read that like there was Jose Cepeda against Ivan Baranchyk, which is my fight of the year. Not even close when you think about it. There was multiple knockdowns in 5 rounds. The ending was brutal. It was just a fantastic fight. But there were some other good fights as well. The Estrada and Quadras fight was a good fight. You know, like there were other good fights out there. But for me, Cepeda and Baranchyk over like Estrada and Quadras and Fury and Wilder and whoever else, I think that's my fight of the year.
Yeah, I absolutely would agree with that. I mean, it's funny, with that fight there, I didn't watch it live. So somebody alerted me to it, and they said, oh, you got to watch this fight. And they kind of gave the game away.
Yeah.
But this was how good that fight was, is that when I watched it, and remember, I didn't watch it live, I watched the recorded version, I just couldn't believe what I was watching. And I had to say, yeah, that was the best fight I saw in terms of like thrills and spills and action.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, some of the technical ability wasn't great, especially the defense. Because I must admit, I'm a bit of a connoisseur when it comes to boxing. I don't like always to see 2 guys just stand there and just throw their hands and everybody say that's a great fight. You know what I mean? It's not always like, you know, the reason why people like myself laud the Hagler and Hearns fight, it wasn't just the fact that these 2 stood and let their hands go. It's that you look at the technique and the shots that they were throwing, you know what I mean? There was a high level of technical ability in there. It wasn't just two man just going like that, like two drunk guys outside the pub on a Friday night. You know what I mean? So there's a technical aspect to this as well. But yeah, to go back to your initial question, yeah, man, Zepeda Baranchyk was an amazing fight, and he must have shared about 6-7 knockdowns each, and then the end was, you know what I mean, absolutely incredible. So yeah, man, I've got no arguments there whatsoever.
Egerton and Cheeseman was a good fight as well. That was a good fight, man.
Now, listen.
That's what you're talking about, isn't it?
That is what I'm talking about. No disrespects to Eggington and Cheeseman, right? Two good fighters, two honest pros, let their hands go and this and that. But I didn't think that was a great fight. I thought they're two hard men, two brave men, two committed men. But the quality of the punching and the defense and all the rest of it, to me, was quite poor. They just basically stood in the middle and hit each other. Now, if that's what gets some people's boat, then fair enough. But I do like to see a degree of technical ability as well. You know, they just literally stood there for 10 rounds and just hit each other. I couldn't really appreciate the skill level. And listen, I'm just keeping it 100, man. Some people like that, but I'm just saying, you know what I mean? To me, that wasn't up there with a great fight. It was entertaining, of course it was. But for me, no, I like to see more technical skills on display.
Yeah, have to agree. I mean, there were others as well, like Taylor Pursoon too. That was like a brawl. But yeah, like when people, like some people might think, oh, what about Fury and Wilder? But for me, it was a great like performance from Fury and the event of the year. But it wasn't like the fight of the year has got to be Baranchyk and Zepeda in terms of thrills and spills for sure.
Absolutely.
Big up Alexander Brown here in the comments. He's put, great job. So good to have an alternative view from the real boxing pundits. Look forward to your views for 2021. And thank you very much, Alexander, man. That's a nice comment. And for sure, we'll be bringing the heat next year.
Alexander Brown is a good friend of mine. He used to be captain of the All Stars Boxing Club when I was there.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, so I'm wondering if that's him, man. If it is him, Happy New Year and thanks for the comment, man. You know
for sure, yeah. Thanks for the comment.
Tommy Hearns back in the day. Tall and rangy with a big right hand, man. You know what I mean? So, enough respect.
Let's move on to the trainer of the year, man. Trainer of the year. Oh, you're getting ready. Like, I feel a rant coming on, man. It's good.
Yeah, man.
I feel a rant coming on. Trainer of the year. Now, you've got some people there up there for me. There are obviously Teofimo Lopez Sr. for guiding his son to, the upset of the year, according to many. Becoming co-fighter of the year. Teofimo Lopez Sr. is up there. Then you've got Sugar Hill. I guess he'd be in there as well. Derek James, Eddie Reynoso. Who would you say was your trainer of the year?
To me, it's not even close. Not even close. How can Derek James not have won that? Look at his two main fighters. Jamel Charlo, who had a great year, came off the back of the Tony Harrison loss, which was very disputed. I thought he won that. But anyway, okay, Tony Harrison won. It's all good. They had the rematch. Jamel Charlo, a come from behind, completely knocked him out. No problem, you know what I mean? Devastating win. And then he goes on to unify the titles by beating another dangerous opponent in Jason Rosario, who had it previously himself had a great win in knocking out Julian Williams. So that was a fantastic win and a fantastic year for Jamel Charlo. Secondly, Errol Spence. We all knew about the car crash. Could have died in that car crash. A lot of people thought if he did come back, he wouldn't be anywhere near the same fighter. Not only does he come back, but he puts in an absolutely almost, I wouldn't say punch perfect, but you know what I mean? It was very, very good, put it that way. And for his first fight back to come and do that. So to me, he's got to be trainer of the year. I mean, listen, shout out to Teofimo's dad. He's done a great job with his son so far. And I could understand why some people would be nominating him. I can understand why some people would be nominating Sugar Hill, because he obviously helped to turn that Tyson Fury performance, you know what I mean? I mean, making Tyson a lot more aggressive and so forth. And they had a great game plan and they executed that game plan to perfection. So I could understand his nominee as well. But for me, man, come on, man. You got two champions in your camp like that, and both of them have excelled in the same year. So it's got to be Derek James. I don't know why he didn't get that award from the Ring. Was it Ring?
The Ring, yeah. They gave it to Teofimo Lopez Sr.
You know what it is as well, right? And I'm going to say this, and I know some people might they might feel a certain way, but there's a
DS for the comment there.
Huh?
Sorry. It's just bigging up DS for the comment there. He said, you know about the
big up DS, big up, and big up all the All-Stars, man, from back in the day. You know what I mean? Right. Yeah. So yeah, what I was going to say is, it's clear to me, right? And I'm saying this. I like to be honest with people. The Ring magazine, especially since Oscar and them, man, took it over, right? There's a clear bias. They don't, for whatever reason, they do not like giving Black American fighters their due. You know what I mean? I've got to say that, man. You know what I mean? I've got to say that. It's clear to me, you know what I mean? And their awards and the things that they do now, since Oscar and them not took over that running of that magazine, is just poor. Because how can Derek James not be given that award? How can he not be recognised?
Let's go through their. Well, I've got
on a regular basis.
I've got their awards in front of me here. Their fighter of the year, we know, Teofimo Lopez and Tyson Fury. Their fight of the year, Cepeda and Baranchyk. We went for that as well. Knockout, they gave it to Gervonta Davis. Trainer, Teofimo Lopez Sr. Upset, they gave that to Teofimo Lopez again. Round, Cepeda and Baranchyk. Prospect, Jaron Ennis. And comeback, Roman Gonzalez. So out of that list, there's two African-American fighters on there. Obviously, Gervonta Davis and Leo Santa Cruz. And then the prospect, Jaron Ennis. So do you still take that, what you've just said there?
I'm not just talking about these awards. I'm talking about the way that whole magazine is presented. The way some of the articles. I've stopped reading that magazine, to be honest. I used to, back in the day, man, I could show you in my loft. I've got like boxes and boxes of old magazines, KO, Ring magazine, and all them from back in the day. Some of your older viewers will know exactly what I'm talking about. But I've since lost a lot of respect for those guys. They've got agendas. Now, you know what? Maybe it isn't an African-American agenda, that, you know, because I know that they tend to fall out with a lot of African-American fighters and people who watch boxing. I've been observing certain things that have been going on. But yeah, man, I'm going to say that, man. You know what I mean? It's very biased. I mean, okay, they had the prospect of the year. I 100% agree, although, are you going to come to that? So maybe I shouldn't keep my...
I wasn't, but we can talk about it.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm actually surprised that they went for Jaron Ennis. I thought they probably would have gone for Virgil Ortiz.
That would have been too obvious, though.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. But I seriously think that there's an issue there. And if you go on social media, you will see that a lot of Black boxing fans have made the same complaint.
And isn't their editor's Doug the Fisher, right?
Yeah, but Doug Fisher, his boss is Oscar De La Hoya, and he dances to a certain tune. So to me, that magazine has lost its credibility over the years, man. That's my opinion, and that's how I feel about it. And I know some of your viewers, it's a very controversial thing to say, but I honestly believe that there's a biasness there. You know what I mean? So.
Well, you guys in the chat, feel free to add your say in it, man. I mean, we're here to talk about anything and everything. We keep it at 100 over here, man. So feel free to have your say. If you don't agree with what Laurie's saying, feel free to say, you know, respectfully, your opinion. But for those that do agree, feel free to add it in as well. Big up Jamie Payne, man. He's here every week. You know, get on well with this person. We love talking about boxing off camera as well. He's put, if Garcia versus Campbell had happened this year, Eddie Reynoso was definitely be in with a shout. But no doubt whatsoever, Derek James has to win it. Yeah, I agree, man. It had to go to Derek James this year.
It's got to win it, man. You know what I mean? It's got to win it.
Teofimo Lopez Sr., what he guided his son to do, you know, you have to give him credit. But I think the fact that, like you said, Errol Spencer's coming off that car crash that could have ended his life, going there against a dangerous opponent like Danny Garcia, performed the way he did, guide Jamel Charlo to, you know, another victory to pick up 3 of the 4 light middleweight belts. Had to go to Derek James. It has to, but hey,
Listen, I can remember Ring Magazine, right? Just to show you how fucked up Ring Magazine was. A couple of years ago, they were having Ronda Rousey, he's not even a fucking boxer, on the front of the Ring Magazine, and they wouldn't put Floyd on it. And they were hinting at posting articles on there, very disrespectful as well. Could Ronda Rousey beat Floyd and stuff like that? You know what I mean? Just real stuff that I thought to myself, these guys that are running this thing, there's a bias there, there's an undercurrent there that I don't like. And they've been called out on it a few times by, I invite any of your viewers to go online and you'll see what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people making some accusations about the Ring Magazine. And I have to say that there is some validity in it, based on some of the stuff that comes out, based on some of their articles, based on the fighters that they push, you know. So, yeah, man, I've got no problem in saying that whatsoever. Anybody wants to debate me on it, you got your view, I got mine.
Fair enough, man. Let's keep it going here because we've got about 15 minutes, but we'll probably go over the hour mark just about because we still got things to cover. Let's quickly go through the upset of the year and the prospect of the year. Well, now we went through prospect. Let's just go through the upset of the year and then we'll move on to Garcia versus Campbell and a couple of fights that you want to see in 2021. So let's quickly go through the upset of the year. I'll read out the nominees to you. Obviously, we've spoken about it a lot, but Teofimo Lopez, Vasyl Lomachenko has to be in there. Jason Rosario has to be in there. January, he knocked out Julian Williams. Yeah. Julian Williams going into that fight was a huge favorite, and he was projected to have a big year. He defeated what's his name again, Jared Hurd, and he was expected to move on. And then Jason Rosario threw all those plans away, so he's up there. Another one here for you, Helenius against Kaunaki.
Yeah,
that's another one.
Yeah, that was a big upset. That was.
Povetkin White. Out of those, what would you say was your upset of the year? So just to go through it again, Rosario and Williams, Helenius Kaunaki, Povetkin White, or Teofimo Lopez, Vasyl Lomachenko. What's your upset of the year?
I think all of those deserve honourable mention, but I'm going to stick to my guns and say Teofimo, because like I said, given them the scale and the magnitude of that fight and the way Lomachenko was being lauded, and like I said, if you looked at some of the pre-fight stuff that went on, very, very few people were picking Teofimo. Very, very few. And if they did, they were saying things like, oh, he might land a punch and knock Lomachenko out. No one had him outpointing Loma around over 12 rounds. And like I said, for him to do that on a big stage like that, in front of the whole world, you know what I mean, and do it convincingly, then yeah, I've got to give it to him. But yeah, shout out to some of those other fights there, man. The Jason Rosario. I mean, it's funny because with Jason Rosario, I think I'd seen him lose to a Jamaican fighter called Gallimore. And Gallimore then gone on to fight Julian Williams, and he was soundly beaten in that fight. So this is why you should never, you know what I mean, look at the fights and just say, yeah, because A beat B, B's going to beat C, and vice versa, and all the rest of it. So yeah, so I was shocked when he did that. But then when you looked at the fight, man, he did it convincingly. Yeah. And a very dangerous fight for Jermell Charlo. That was why I was very impressed with Jermell, the manner of that win as well, where he basically beat him up and then knocked him out. And that's why, you know what I mean, I said earlier that Derek James had to have got Trainer of the Year. And if he doesn't get Trainer of the Year, you start thinking to yourself, well, why hasn't he been given that? You know, and then, you know, like I said, you start thinking, well, maybe some people didn't give it to him because maybe there's an agenda going on. So there you go.
My upset with the year, well, it was, I agreed, Teofimo Lopez and Vasyl Lomachenko is up there, but I'm going to have to go with Jason Rosario against Julian Williams, man. That was in January, so people have forgotten about it probably. He's fought again since then. But I just remember going into that year, Julian Williams was projected for a huge year. You know, he was unified light middleweight champion. People were talking about him against Jermell Charlo. You know, could he avenge? You know, could he beat the brother after losing to the older brother? Well, not the older brother, but the bigger one. And then Jason Rosario just come out of nowhere, just like, and the performance he put on was fantastic. I mean, it's low profile compared to Lopez and Loma, but in terms of my upset of the year, I have to go for that. Let's go through a couple of comments here quickly. DS again here in the chat. He said that Laurie's spot on and he's not the first to call him out on it. So yeah, DS Reed, that was obviously referring to the Ring magazine. Craft again here in the chat, he's put Yard versus Lyndon Arthur, or is Yard overrated? Could that be a honourable mention there, Anthony Yard and Lyndon Arthur? For upset of the year?
In terms of British upsets, I think so. Yeah, definitely. I mean, another one I guess would be the Dubois Joe Joyce. But yeah, I must admit, no disrespect to Lyndon Arthur and Pat Barrett, but I never saw him beating Anthony Yard. I never saw that at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I honestly thought he would do well to go the distance with Anthony Yard. I knew he would be competitive because we know Lyndon's a decent fighter, well-schooled amateur, good jab, well-trained by Pat Barrett, who's a man I've got a lot of admiration for. But I never thought that he would get a victory over Anthony Yard. So that was a big upset. So that's definitely goes in the honourable mention section.
Yeah. Well, let's talk quickly because we haven't got long left. But let's talk about this weekend. That wraps up our awards, by the way. Thank you all guys for giving me your opinion.
More awards that we missed actually.
Go ahead.
The YouTube boxing channel of the year, and I'm going to nominate you.
Yeah.
Boxing Lowdown, man. People out there, tell us what you think. You know what I mean? Who are the top boxing websites out there?
Yeah,
Shout
man.
out
Yeah.
to Coogan, you know what I mean? He's done well. But this is a very different type of channel to Coogan's anyway. It's more factual. Coogan's is more interviewing fighters. But I would say, and obviously I'm biased, so you know you got to factor that in, that whole Ring magazine bias thing. But listen, for what you do, man, and I watch a lot of other different channels and see the work, you got to be up there. So just keep on doing the hard work, man, and you'll get there in the end.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. Obviously, we're not, in terms of audience, it's not there yet, but the people that are tuned in, I'll tell you what, they're like, I've got some great people following, man. They contribute, add comments, you know, leave. It's great. They like the videos, they share. So the people that are here, they're amazing. I know it's not out to the wider audience yet, but it'll get there, man. It'll get there.
The show you did with Ade the other day, man. That was a really good show as well. Shout out to Ade, man. Yeah,
Ade, yeah, great channel, man. Great channel, Ade. He's helped push through this channel as well. Loads of other great channels out there as well.
Very articulate, well-spoken, knows his boxing, and with you and him together makes for a good show. But anyway, I'll no more self-promotion. Sorry. Go on.
Yeah. Let's talk about Garcia Campbell then, man. This weekend, we're looking forward to this one. Great fight to kick off the year. Ryan Garcia, you know, I spoke about it with Ade as well. Like, it's just, he's set up to be the face of boxing, really. He's got everything going for him. You know, he's got the looks, he's got the talent as well. Let's not get that twisted. And you get the feeling if he can defeat Luke Campbell decisively, that would be he's a huge name on his record he would compared to the other fighters that he's fought. Because let's be honest, I don't really know. Fonseca, I knew who he was because he fought Javante Davis, didn't he? But anyone else, there's not really anyone on that record to really suggest, you know, that how good he can be. But if he can defeat Luke Campbell, it's going to be taking place in Texas. It's a good, solid win because I still rate Luke Campbell. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of people out there that do think Luke Campbell could win. I know Ryan Garcia is the favourite, but there's a lot of people out there thinking, hold on, he might have taken this too soon. He hasn't got the experience that Luke Campbell's got. Luke Campbell's still good. You know, he took Lomachenko the distance, did very well. Yeah. What's your thoughts going into this fight? How do you see it?
First of all, like you said, it's a great fight. I'm looking forward to this fight so much, especially with all the lockdown stuff, no one being allowed to go anywhere, man. We're having to stay in. And this is one fight I'm genuinely looking forward to. It's a real crossroads fight, man, because it's one of those classic fights where you get a young up-and-coming guy meeting an older guy, more experienced guy. And it's one of them fights that you genuinely don't know what's going to happen until they get in there on January the 2nd. It really is like that. I mean, Luke Campbell is one of our best amateur boxers of all time. World decorated, Olympic gold medal, European champion. He hasn't quite replicated that success in the pros, but he's still a quality operator. He's had a couple of world title shots. He came up short against Linares. That fight could have gone either way, to be honest. Yeah. Against Lomachenko, I thought he was soundly beaten, but he did put up a very good showing, and he did hurt Lomachenko a couple of times. I think Lomachenko said, obviously, this was before the Lopez fight, that he said that Luke Campbell had given him one of his hardest, if not his hardest fight. So, yeah, man, this could be a really, really good fight. And it's interesting. I think I may have told you this story before, so forgive me if I'm repeating myself. But
you told me off camera. I don't think you've said it on camera.
One of the gyms I go to, there's a guy that I train with a lot, a guy called Chris. Shout out Chris, and he goes backpacking, if you like. He's like a boxing backpacker, goes across the world sparring and going into different gyms. And I remember, this must be a year or two ago now. Remember one day, because me and him like to chop it up about boxing. And he come into the gym, he said, Laurie, man, I was over in America. And I was in the gym, Freddie Roach's gym. I think it was Freddie Roach's gym, he said. And he goes, I witnessed a guy there called Ryan Garcia. He goes, Laurie, trust me. He said that this guy is going to be the next big thing. And I was like, because at the time I hadn't heard of it. And he was like, trust me. He goes, when you see him, he goes, you look at him and you think, oh, he's just a pretty boy. And he doesn't look, you know what I mean, particularly aggressive or macho, whatever. He goes, but trust him, man. The kid's got a left hook from hell. He's so sharp, speed. And he said he's going to the top. He goes, trust me. He goes, trust me, Laurie, this guy is going to the... So that name always resonated with me. And it always stuck in my mind. And then when I saw him blowing up a bit more, I started to Google some of his fights. And I know he's had some little back and forth with Devin Haney and stuff like that. And I've Googled some of his amateur fights. And I saw where Devin Haney beat him, but they were very competitive. But I think he does have a win or so over Devin Haney as well as an amateur. And I also, interestingly, he's got a win over Virgil Ortiz as an amateur that I won. That was a very competitive, close fight. All these fights are on YouTube. So, yeah, so fast forward, when this fight was made, and then I saw Chris again, and I said to Chris, what do you reckon? Before I could even get the words out, he goes, Laurie, man, enough respect to Luke Campbell, man, but Ryan's going to knock him out. And I was like, you know, like, Luke is a proper fighter, man. He goes, no disrespect to Luke, Laurie. He goes, but boy, trust me, this kid is special. And that kind of always kind of stuck with me. So, but the one thing I would say about Ryan Garcia, he does clearly have incredibly fast hands.
Yeah.
He has the power, he has the confidence, he has the look. But if you look at his resume, man, he's not really fought no one. He's not been any rounds. I think he's had like 3 or 4 rounds in the last year or two. You know what I mean? So I'm not sure whether I can pick him to beat Luke based on, I haven't seen that much of him. And he's not had any rounds in the bank, because we know that Luke is tough. Yes, he can be hit, he can go down, but invariably he does get back up. And he's a quality operator, man, and he's experienced. He's a southpaw. This is probably his last shot at the big time. He's going to be hella motivated. And I know in the pre-fight comments and that, he's also talking very confidently. So this is a great matchup, man. And I think that if Luke can somehow avoid getting too involved and make his way out the early rounds and take it, you know, late, I think, you know what I mean, the inexperience and the lack of quality operating at this level could find Ryan Garcia out. So I'm kind of on the fence, but I'm going to lean towards, I don't even, you know, one day I wake up, yeah, man, Luke Campbell's going to be too experienced for him. And then the next day I wake up, I think, no, man, I'm hearing so much about it. If he's even half as good as what I'm hearing, he's probably going to win. So I don't know, man. What do you think? I don't know what to say.
Oh man, I'm sorry. Before I go into it, I'll just go through a couple comments here. Craft, he's put you IFL beats and sometimes Hatman. Yep, familiar with all of those channels. The people will come. Keep going. Thank you very much, Craft. Kieran Rogers has put this channel is unique. Knowledge is up there with the best of the social accounts. Bigger and better things to come. Respect, bro. Thank you very much for that. DS here, he's put, I'm very 50-50 on this fight. I could see Garcia winning early, although I favour Campbell if it goes late. DS again is put, if Campbell gets Garcia past 5, it'll get very interesting. Alexander Brown has put, Luke Campbell is a really good boxer. However, Garcia is too tough and rugged. Late stoppage for Ryan Garcia. Now, my thoughts on it, and I'm kind of like you, I'm not going to lie, I've changed my mind on this a couple of times, because at first, when this went on, I was like, nah, I was like, he's not ready for Luke Campbell yet, man. Like, he's not ready. Like, Campbell's got the experience. He's been in there with the best. Hasn't always won, but he's got experience in the bank. You know, he's traveled abroad. fought Linares. You know, he's done that before. He's Olympic gold medalist. Like he hasn't had that much wear and tear on his career, Luke Campbell. I know he's lost before, but he's a quality operator. You know, Olympic gold medalist. He's done it in the amateurs. His technique as a pro. He's got good people around him. I don't know. Are we just to say that Luke Campbell's done? He's not done yet. And Ryan Garcia, although he looks like a phenom, like I've seen the training videos, I've seen the knockouts, especially the one over Fonseca. Is that enough for me to pick him over Luke Campbell right now? I don't know. So I'm really like 50-50 on it as well. I can't just outright say who's going to win. And I'm sorry for sitting on the fence. I don't normally do it, but I just don't know. I don't know what to think, because I guess if I was to, I'm leaning towards experience, but then you just think where the fight is, Dallas, Texas, home comforts will be for Ryan Garcia. I know Luke Campbell's fought abroad before, but if it was to be close, you know who it would go to. I don't know. Has Luke Campbell fought a fighter like Ryan Garcia before?
Yeah. I mean, all these intangibles, man. I mean, the one thing I would say is that, listen, I don't know Ryan Garcia. I'm sure he's a cool guy and everything, but I really would like Luke Campbell to pull it off for a number of reasons. Like I said, he's been one of our, if not the most decorated amateur boxer ever to come out of this country. He seems like a cool guy. He's overcome a lot in his personal life. He's dedicated himself to his craft, and he seems like a real honest lad. And I can't fault his endeavours, man. So if he was to win, I'll be absolutely made up for him. You know what I mean? So I really would like to see him win, but I'm just leaning towards Ryan Garcia for the simple fact that the fight is being held abroad. And when you get a fight like this, sometimes, believe it or not, that can be the difference on the night. You know what I mean? Because I would imagine if it is close, sorry to have to say, Ryan Garcia being the designated next superstar, you'd have thought that, you know what I mean? I don't know, it's an unpalatable thing to say, but it is the truth when it comes to boxing. They do tend to get treated more favorably, you know what I mean? And the scorecards, and he's got that power to match. But I'd love to see Luke win. But if you put a gun to my head, which I know you wouldn't do, I would have to lean ever so slightly towards Ryan Garcia. But one thing, I'm not going to come on here next week and say, yeah, I told you so. And no, it ain't like that. Because like I said, I can still see Luke Campbell winning. I just hope that he can get out the early rounds, because that is when the fast fibers of a Ryan Garcia is going to be at their most optimum in those early rounds with that nervous energy and all the rest of it. And I think if Luke makes a mistake, then it could be a costly one. So he's got to not get too greedy, man. Work behind the jab, be sensible, be circumspect, and stop to pick your opponent apart and drag him into deep waters and hopefully drown him. Because like I said, Ryan Garcia, the deficiencies are glaring. He hasn't boxed at this level, and he hasn't had the rounds, man. He just hasn't. And if you haven't done the distance, how do you know you're going to cope well? And you're in against an experienced guy, and they don't give away gold medals, man. I mean, I'm sure Luke Campbell would have had to have faced some real big punchers on the way up in the amateurs, and you know, even coming up as a pro, he's been in with some big punchers, and he's been in with your speedsters, your Linares and your Lomachenko. So you know, I mean, he's seen the whole lot. Let's just see what happens, man. But I'm really looking forward to this fight. Hope Luke Campbell can bring it home. It'll be an amazing year, amazing way to get the year off. And let's face it, I mean, apart from the heavyweights, British boxing's not enjoyed a lot of success in world title fights recently, have we? So you could do it.
Yeah, just bringing back to that comment again from Diaz, he's put, if Campbell totally, that's literally what you've just said here. If Campbell gets Garcia past 5, it will get very interesting. It will. But I've seen a few, like I saw Devin Haney speak on the fight. He was asked about it, and he was like, nah, like just the dismissal of Luke Campbell. It's just like, so nah, this ain't gonna be that competitive, man. I don't rate Luke Campbell. I think Ryan Garcia is gonna smoke him. Do you know what I mean? And like I've seen some Americans online. I'm just like, Luke Campbell's not like he's good, man. Like,
you know what, right? That is typical Americans for you. They're very dismissive of their European counterparts until they get found out, of course. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't expect anything different from those guys because they've got a very myopic view of the world. You know what I mean? It's almost like that Trump thing, America first. All they bothered about is America, so they wouldn't see that. They wouldn't give any recognition to it. And this is one of the reasons why I really hope Luke Campbell goes and wins, because when people like Devin Haney say things like that, it is kind of irritating. Because
it's disrespectful as well.
It's very disrespectful, because if you've taken the trouble to watch him, you would see that he's a quality operator.
Yeah, and Lomachenko is picking Luke Campbell.
Achieved stuff in the sport that Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia and Teofimo Lopez and even Shakur Stevenson are rate highly. He's gone one further than him in the amateurs, man. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's won Olympic gold. None of those guys have done that. The only one who's come close, of course, is Shakur Stevens. So,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, I really hope Luke can do it. But,
it's going to be a very good fight. Lomachenko's picking Luke Campbell. I saw his interview. He said he's picking Luke. Don't know if that's got anything to do with them two fighting each other.
He's probably in a very sour, bitter, and twisted place right now. So
he's been bitter, man.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the way he's conducted himself over the last couple of months, that's been really poor, man. I'm really disappointed in Lomachenko, to be honest.
Yeah.
I can understand you being a bit salty at losing your title and your status as possibly pound for pound #1 in the world, man. But come on, man. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's lost before to Salido. You know, a lot of the great fighters lose. You know what I mean? In recent times, it's only Floyd that hasn't, and Terence Crawford and people like that. But you know, it happens, man. Get back in there, get the rematch, or go to another division, win another belt. Look at the example that's been set, and that is why I've so much an admirer of this. Is Manny Pacquiao. You know what I mean? When he's had losses in his career, some of them devastating. Remember the loss to Manuel Marquez? Man was face first on the floor twitching. Everyone thought that was it. Today, fast forward today, he's WBA champion of the world. He's beaten Keith Thurman. You know what I mean? So it's not the end of the world, man.
Sure.
It's your attitude to defeat that counts. I mean, again, when I witnessed Manny Pacquiao getting thrown around the ring like a rag doll by Jeff Horn in a fight that I thought he lost, Pacquiao was a bit salty after that fight, saying that he lost and claiming that Bob Bammer had stitched him up, you know, all that type of stuff. But fair play to him, man. He come back and now look where he is. So
let's talk about
Lomachenko do the same and stop bitching and whining.
Yeah, I have to agree. He's let me down a lot recently with some of the comments that he's made.
What happened to the Matrix?
I have to agree. It's a big year for him, man, and a big year in general, 2021. Before we close out, I know we've gone over the hour mark here, so we won't be that much longer. But let's close it out, man. Just give me some fights that you want to see for 2021. I know the obvious ones are going to be Fury and Joshua and Spence and Crawford. So we won't mention those, even though I just have. But just to close out, they don't have to be the biggest fights of the year or the biggest fights. Just give me some personal favorites of yours that you'd like to see this year. Anybody that's still in the chat, feel free to add yours as well. Let me know, like, just any fight. Like, I'll go first. I'll speak mine. Obviously, you've got those two that I mentioned. You've got Taylor and Ramirez for all the marbles. You've got Devin Haney against Teofimo Lopez for all the marbles. And then, like, you've just got personal fights like Inoue Casimiro. That's another one I want to see. To be fair, we do have Roman Gonzalez. That I think that was. Is did that fight get confirmed? I'm not sure, actually. Have to go back on that one. But there are some fights out there, like even fights like Jamal Charlo and Chris Eubank Jr., for example. Yeah. Eubank Jr. needs to come back. We said that in the last video. I mean, Ade did. Liam Williams, will he get a title shot against Demetrius Andrade? Billy Joe Saunders against Canelo or Triple G. You know, throw a lot of heavyweights in there. There's a lot of decent fights that can be made there, not including Fury and AJ. You could have Wilder against Dillian White. You can have, like, White Povetkin too. You know, maybe
I'd like to see Usyk versus Joe Joyce.
It was just literally just about to say that, Usyk and Joyce. But any fights you'd like to say that you'd like to see next year?
Well, I mean, most of them you mentioned. I mean, right at the top there, you mentioned a fight that everyone wants to see, and that's Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford. I'm personally getting sick of all the back and forth. I just want to see those two guys get it on, man. I hope that against hope that we can see that fight for 2021, but I'm not, entirely optimistic about it. Obviously, the Joshua Fury, that's another great fight. And there's other guys coming up, man, that I'm really looking forward to see how they develop in 2021. We mentioned them before. Jerome Ennis, I'm big on him. I'm also big on Virgil Ortiz. There's some domestic fights over here that I'd like to see take place, man. Why not Conor Ben versus the guy from Newcastle?
Josh Kelly.
Josh Kelly, you know what I mean? That'd be a great fight. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? That'd be an interesting fight. Yeah, man, there's so many fighters and fights that can be made, man, that it's kind of difficult for me to just earmark a few. But I just hope that, one thing I do hope that we're going to see, although I'm not entirely optimistic we're going to see it, and that's the best fight in the best. People taking risks, man, you know what I mean? People accepting the challenge, people throwing down the gauntlet and that being taken up. And then that way, the fans are the winners, you know what I mean? I think in recent times, man, we've seen fighters that are, you know what I mean, the way they're managing their careers, man, it's become a way to navigate your way to belts and get safe title defenses. And you get people like Canelo, who is a great fighter, but he's not above criticism. Some of the stuff he does where he picks off a division, he will go to a division and so look at the 4 or 5 champions and then pick off who he feels is the easiest one to beat. And then he will beat that person and then say, I'm now a 6-weight world champion. And I mean, I'm getting a bit fed up with all this, as I'm sure you are and your viewers are as well. 2021, my aim, or what I want to see, is the best fight in the best more often. And that's the only way the sport is going to continue to rise. Because let's face it, man, boxing is under pressure from other combat sports, namely the MMA and Bellator and things like that. And if you look at those sports, man, it's run a bit different to boxing. So the chief guy in MMA, for example, Dana White, UFC, he will just earmark that the 2 best guys in the division fight. And that's it. You know what I mean? But obviously boxing's not run like that. It's got different divisions, different bodies and all the rest of it. So it's a lot harder to achieve that. But yeah, my wish for 2021 is for the best to keep fighting the best. That's the only way the sport is going to grow and the fans are going to come back and we have a great year, which I'm hopeful that we do have.
Yeah. Diaz has put some good shouts on here and just putting them up. Got another one here, Bivol versus Beterbiev. Great fight that it would be. That needs to happen as well. But
Bivol's an interesting case because Bivol's been around a long time. He's clearly a very good fighter, but we don't really know how good he is because a lot of his fights fly under the radar. I don't know how hard he's trying to make the big fights, but he's been around a long time now, man. And what kind of big fights has he had? He had a good win over Joe Smith Jr., which looks a good win given what Joe Smith Jr. has gone on to achieve. But yeah, he's not calling out Beterbiev. He wasn't calling out Kovalev when Kovalev had the belt. You know what I mean? What's he doing, man? What is he doing?
I think he does need a big year this year for sure.
Tank Davis, as much as I like Tank, man, you know what I mean? His career has been managed by Floyd and it's been very carefully managed. Okay, he had the great win over Leo, but let's face it, he was expected to beat Leo. He's been called out by Devin Haney, by Gary Russell Jr., a whole host of people, and he's seemingly not accepting those challenges. You have to ask yourself why, you know what I mean? I don't think it's because the fighter's scared. I wouldn't say that for 1 minute. I wouldn't say that about Bivol either, but again, is his career being managed too carefully? You know what I mean? And that's a problem that boxing has at the moment. I mean, even Canelo, a lot of people have as their pound for pound number 1. I wouldn't have that. But again, you look at his career, man, you know what I mean? It's a very carefully managed career. I'd like to see him take a few more risks.
Well, he wants to become undisputed. Ain't that good enough for you?
Yeah, but, you know, he could have tried to have come undisputed many occasions before, but certain fighters, he seems to not want to fight them, man. Or to skip over it completely, and I just don't like that, man. You know what I mean? He's a great man. Step up and fight the best guys in that division, and clear out the division. Unify. You know what I mean?
He wants to. I think that's what he said. He said he wants to become undisputed, so that would mean he'd have to fight Billy Joe Saunders, which looks like it's going to happen in May.
A few days later, he announced that he was fighting Anthony Yildirim.
Yeah, then Billy Joe in May.
Anthony Yildirim, he was KO'd brutally by Chris Eubank Jr. That is his claim to fame, actually.
Yeah, but then I think he said Billy Joe Saunders in May. He said, I believe it. Well, let's see what happens.
Well, he said stuff like this before, but it's not happened, man. You know what I mean? But,
what about this comment here? Do you think Buatsi's ready to...
Charlo.
What about this comment here? Do you think Buatsi's ready to step up this year, next year? Try for one title?
I think he's not quite ready yet, you know. He's not quite ready yet. In his last fight, some of the deficiencies were exposed a little bit. Buatsi's one of those fighters. He's very attack-minded to the point where that aggression that he has means that he's very hittable. And he nearly came a cropper in his last fight, man. He had some real uncomfortable moments against, I think it's a Croatian guy.
Yeah.
The Croatian guy was a top amateur, and he really did Buatsi a good fight. I mean, fair play to Buatsi, he pulled it out in the end. But he was under a lot of pressure in that fight, man. Very
maybe Buatsi, Callum Smith.
And don't forget as well, that light heavyweight division, man, that's a bit of a murderer's row. You know what I mean? So
maybe Callum Smith, maybe if he steps up to 175, you know, Callum Johnson, I want to see that next year.
Yeah,
Callum Johnson.
That's a great fight.
Yeah. And then maybe the winner there could then go back onto world level for world title.
I mean, Callum Johnson, compared to him, he went in there with Beterbiev, gave a good account of himself. He had Beterbiev on the floor. You know what I mean? Callum Johnson's a noted puncher, big, strong guy. Him versus Buatsi would be a great fight.
I want that next year, yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to see that fight, man. But again, you know what I mean? Will the powers that be make that fight?
Hope so. But we'll wrap it up with this last comment here. Canelo versus Charlo at 160. So Canelo dropped back counterweight, fight more Charlo.
The kind of fights you want to see. I mean, I have to say, hitherto, Canelo's not really wanting to fight the Charlos for whatever reason. It just seems that way. Why not? You know what I mean? Because listen, I think Canelo has got a very decent shout in that fight against Charlo. And vice versa. I think Charlo has got a very good shout. These are the fights we want to see. You know what I mean?
I think Charlo said he was willing to move up for that fight as well. He said he'd fight at 168.
Big 160. He's big for the weight, man. And I'm sure they could make that fight if the two parties were, you know what I mean, of the same mindset. I'm sure they could sit down and make that fight no problem.
Yeah.
But why are we not seeing these fights?
Yeah, well, let's hope. Let's hope in the new year we do. I mean, we did get to see some good fights this year, despite this pandemic. Let's not forget, we are going through a pandemic right now. We did get to see some big fights this year. Let's hope it continues on to next year, man, the best fight and the best, because there is a danger of some of these exhibitions and these YouTube fight, whatever, you know, getting a bit more like, listen, I don't mind it if it's not affecting the big fights, but when it is starting to affect them and people are more, you're getting more like pay-per-view buys for that than the actual real fights that we should be getting, then it's a problem. So let's hope that next year
that YouTube stuff, Jake Paul and all that type of stuff, and even Tyson, Roy Jones, to me, that's circus stuff, man. That's not real boxing.
It is, but it's getting the views. It's getting more buys than the actual big fights itself, and that's where the problem is.
Yeah, but so, two people fighting outside Walmart, that probably does good numbers on World Star, but it's not good. It's not boxing, really, is it? I mean, that whole thing with Tyson and Roy Jones, I was disappointed that they took that fight. I mean, okay, it did work out commercially, but the problem with that is now it's spawned a whole nother number of people talk. Holyfield says he wants to come out of retirement and fight. Shannon Briggs is there calling everyone out. You know what I mean? It's just going to get ridiculous, man. So
Tyson again said he said he's definitely having another one. So
listen, man, it was a commercial success, massively, and I guess there is a market for it. There is a market for it, you know. But I think we should divorce that from real boxing.
Yeah, I agree. The best thing about that was Snoop, anyway, man.
One of the ways boxing can get back on an even keel is for the best to start fighting the best. Because you know what? In time, if the best do start fighting the best, and we get more of those types of matchups, people will start to treat the old YouTubers and that with the contempt it deserves. They will say, oh, look, that's nonsense. It's not for real fans. And you know what I mean? But they're able to exist in this climate whereby the best are not fighting the best. So it's almost like the people out there, they just want to see a fight. So they'll tune into stuff like that.
Yeah.
So if boxing gets its house in order, which I hope it does, people put the politics to one side and start making the fights, I think you will see the views and the interest rise commensurately.
Yeah.
Let's hope that's in 2021.
Well, listen, man, that kind of wraps up because we've been talking for like an hour and 20 minutes on here. So I know we're coming up to, let's wrap it up now. And, you know, I'll be back on here for the fan talk after Luke Campbell against Ryan Garcia. Be online again. Anybody wants to jump in, feel free to have your say. We'll get you on. And yeah, just want to say thanks again, man. Like, it's been a very good year, despite considering what's been going on in the world. And just like to wish everybody in the chat, yourself, obviously I'm not going to be able to see you, but everybody in the chat and everyone that's subscribed and watching, a happy new year and all the best to you and yours. And let's just hope for a good 2021. Let's hope we can get back to some normality, man. Get some fans in the stadiums and just everybody just stay safe out there, man, and just, you know, just enjoy it.
Yep, indeed. It's been a very challenging year. So I wish everybody out there a prosperous, happy, and above all, healthy new year. Let's hope that we can start to make some inroads into this coronavirus, man, and that 2021 will be a more fortuitous year than 2020 was in that regard. So let's look forward to a big year in the boxing ring, man, with some great fights to entertain us with.
For sure. Listen, we'll wrap that up here, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Happy New Year to you all. Take care. And yeah, we'll be back again for the podcast next week. I'll be back next on Fan Talk straight after the fight. So happy New Year. Happy New Year to you, Kieran, as well. And we'll speak to you guys soon. Peace.